Welcome to Careers in Coffee. I'm Becky Lutgen Gardner. I'm product manager with Employer Careers. I'm here today with a special guest, Trish Mehaffey, who is a reporter who covers state and federal courts for the Gazette. So we have a lot of great journalists at the Gazette, and it's really, we feel important that we have conversations with people like Trish about what's going on with workforce development, especially as it relates to Iowa. So Trish, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for asking me to do this.
Yeah, well, you wrote a story basically about the shortage of court reporters in Iowa, and so and you mentioned in that it's beyond a crisis state. That's what people were saying. Tell me a little bit about the story.
Yeah, it's basically, it is a crisis, beyond crisis state, I guess, still, and it's just gotten worse. And so they right now, our district, our local district, the six, we have 10 openings. They have 20, they have 20 for 20 reporters, we only have 10 filled. And I think we're losing one more, I believe this summer with a retirement. So there'll be 11. So I think, and so then, and the districts across the state are in the same shape. Everybody's got an opening of two or more. And I think we have the most of 10, two or more. And there's only one district I think that doesn't need anybody, but that's rare at this time.
So what potential problems or current problems does that create when you have that big of a shortage?
Yeah, basically, it means everybody's court case is getting bumped because they don't have enough court reporters for the court hearings. I mean, the court reporters are the eyes and ears of the courtroom. I mean, they're taking down verbatim the live, the court proceedings, and so that's what the court has to rely on. To look back on to make rulings, and have an actual transcript of the actual hearing or trial.
So you touched on that a little bit about exactly what that court reporter does. So, for people who don't quite understand, how do they do their jobs? What do they do?
Sure. They use, like, basically they're the ones that are sitting up front by the judge, and they're taking down everything that everybody's saying. So it's really you have to be a multitasker because you have to be able to listen and then write down. And they're using a steno machine, so it's a little bit easier. So because they're covering things in real time. And so the steno machine like lets them put in a phrase at a time or a sentence at a time, and they build a vocabulary in that machine that they can just hit a button, and that's what it is. And so that helps a lot. But it does take somebody that can multitask and somebody that wants to stay busy because they are constantly. I mean, they get breaks during trials or court hearings, but still, it's a pretty sorry, I can't think what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, it's a demand. It
Edit
sounds
that
like a
part
really
out.
demanding job, and you can't really doze off. You can't have
Yeah,
that
right.
moment
Yeah.
because you're going to miss something.
Yeah.
That's what your
You
job
can't,
is to
that's
report.
for sure. I mean, that's kind of what I do. I cover trials in real time, but nothing like I mean, I'm not taking down verbatim. I'm writing like more like notes to myself, and then so people can read it though and follow along with the trial in real time. And so, but their job it is pretty demanding, and but it does really pay well. That's a big thing, it pays well. It starts out about I think it's like 58,000 here in Iowa. And then nationwide, I think it can be starting out pay can be like 62 or 65,000. So that's really good. And they can, I mean, sometimes those court reporters can make up to 100,000 a year. They can
So,
do besides court hearings and court proceedings, they can also be freelancers. They can like do depositions for like law firms, civil. There's always these civil law cases going on, and so you can stay quite busy even as a freelancer.
so what does it take if I'm interested in becoming a court reporter or learning more about it? What does it take for me to be certified?
Sure, you do have to go through a program. It's called a real-time court reporting program, and they only have one in the state, and it's offered it's at Des Moines Community College, DMAC, which people might know it as. And and actually they're doing the program online, so you can do the program online now, but it does take 2 years to get through, and then you get certified. Then you have to go or take a certification test to pass. And it's not easy, but many people have done it, and there are plenty of openings. I mean, I think they've predicted, like the court administrator said that he could guarantee jobs, 48 job openings, like in the next, several years. And so, but that's the only thing. It's like it does take a while to get through the program. So that's kind of the lag time, that there are some people going through the program, but it's just going to take, that 2 years to get them in and get them out. And so, but
It does sound like they decided that the online, certainly with only having that one program that was available, making it available to more people online,
sure.
hopefully will keep upping the number of people who are registering to go through the program.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because there are some in there. I think there was like 48 in there, but of course that's gonna, take a while to get them out too. So that's the only thing. But once they get out, they are honestly guaranteed a job.
I think you also talked to some current court reporters. What do they really like about their jobs?
Right. But they like it because it does keep them busy. They do stay busy. They enjoy being like the insider, listener on all the court proceedings, especially like if you're a true crime fan. It would be great for someone, because that's what I love about it too, is because you get to know all the details of the case, which you don't get until you usually get to a trial or you get in a hearing of some kind. But that's what they love about it, is they keep busy, and they just think it's been a great career for them.
Yeah, well,
So
it sounds very interesting, and that's one of the reasons I invited you to talk about this, just because
sure.
there's, when we're talking about workforce in general, and where are those opportunities, and certainly the kind of struck a chord there too. In your
Sure.
story, you also just talked about the future and people's concerns about whether it's the judges or the administrative folks within the courthouse, the concerns with the lack of the court reporters, and the fact that judges um, can't rely on the fact that they're not going to have the same person, because there's just not enough of them. And so it
Right.
used to be your court reporter was in your courtroom and you knew them very well, and you still probably know them very well. But what are those other challenges that judges and others are talking about?
Sure. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, and sometimes there's like one court reporter for like three judges. I mean, it's happened like that. And they've all got like hearings. And so it's been interesting because, I mean, those court reporters, they are honestly running back and forth to different courtrooms, because it's never in the same courtroom. It's always a different courtroom. And some of the hearings have been delayed because they have to wait for the court reporter to finish up with the previous hearing. And so it has been really crazy. I mean, it's so different even than when I first started, because there were numerous court reporters, and nobody was waiting like that necessarily. And so without the court reporter, also it means that the trial schedule is going to be delayed, or the court hearings are going to be delayed. So it kind of has to, if there's just no court reporter, they can't do it, because they have to have that court reporter there, especially in the criminal cases they do. And most of the civil cases now, they're getting more backed up because they're not the priority on the schedule. It's the criminal that takes priority, and like custody issues with kids and juvenile cases. And so those are just being backed up more. And the judge is basically, I mean, the chief judge sent out a letter saying that for criminal or for civil cases, that they couldn't probably give a court reporter probably couldn't do it longer than 5 days, because they can't spare them. And so, but a lot of the civil cases too, they like hire their own, they get freelancers to do it. So that's more the route they're going to have to take for sure now.
Yeah, it sounds like, for somebody who might be interested in doing this, and I think you spoke to that too. Attention to detail, huge, because you want to pick up on everything and then be able to
Sure.
work fast and timely so you don't miss something. But so, is there anything else that whether it's your courts or anybody else is doing in this crisis to get that word out about not only the fact that there's a need, but try to let people know that there's a huge opportunity here for somebody who is looking
Sure.
for a good paying position going forward. Is there anything else they're doing as far as trying to get that awareness out there?
Yeah, I think they've expanded their advertising on that. And then also they set up a task force even to look into that. And they've even like reached out to other workers, in the system, like employees of the court system that maybe they were like clerks, usually other clerks, to see if anybody had an interest in it. And they would help them, they would work around their schedule to get them to take the classes to be a court reporter. So it's even come to that, even inside internally, they would, move a person into the court reporter if that's what they wanted to do. And it would be, a better paying job for them than a clerk's position. So
Sometimes hiring from within is your best opportunity,
sure.
right? Training and
Yeah,
continuing to move that on.
exactly.
So,
But
so
so the task force will continue to study this and come up with ideas that they can try to get people into these because they really do need them. And it is, it's like I said, it is happening nationwide. So everybody's kind of having the same problems.
yeah, well, it sounds like with putting together a task force, everybody's trying to find out how can we learn from others the best way to help solve our current crisis and see
Sure.
what we can do moving forward. But taking that 2 years to get somebody trained, you're just going to have to constantly keep people in that pipeline and that awareness
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah,
But
for sure. And that's what they're kind of trying to do right now. So it's kind of slowly, but surely maybe it'll happen.
so, anything else about the story or about the shortage of court reporters?
I don't think so. I just think a lot of people probably aren't even aware of court reporters, because they are the ones that, they're the eyes and ears, but they're supposed to just kind of be like, into the background. They don't want to draw any attention on them for sure. And so, they're just there to do their job, and it's a really demanding job. So it's
Well, that
hard.
sounds very interesting. I mean, but court
Oh
reporters,
yeah,
there's everywhere, right? Every different type of trials,
sure.
everything from
Yeah.
your crime type stuff, but also your other opportunities that arise. So I would think it would be pretty interesting if you are curious
Yeah.
about what's going on.
Yeah, I think it is too. And they always, all the court reports have said to me that they love it because they learn something new every day, from different cases and things like that. I mean, that's true. Like, my job, I've learned that stuff too, just like following, like you're learning all the medical stuff. If there's like an autopsy involved or, if it's a civil case, you're learning about, a civil law that you probably don't even know about, something that, it could be anything, based on it, like maybe it's an automobile accident or maybe some other kind of, horrible accident of some kind and somebody suing somebody. And so there's all kinds of things, you can learn in the court system.
Yeah, I would think so. Pretty fascinating on that. So I think, finally, I think you touch on the fact that we 2 years to get certified, but online is a possibility. And right now, um, that if I was interested, DMAC is going to be the place I would want to go to figure out or find out more about that training.
Yes, yeah, definitely to go to them. And then there's another couple of schools that are looking into like having a program, but they don't have it yet at this time. And so, anyway, but so maybe hopefully that would help too if they would, have other programs in the state too to
Yeah,
offer
and I
that.
think even just drawing the awareness, if it's more widespread, would be definitely
Sure.
helpful. Certainly,
Oh
I'm not going
yeah.
to make it anybody can join anywhere, but certainly that awareness, the need, and that the major shortage, a big idea with that. But I just want to leave those job seekers with
Sure.
that thought, just saying, hey, this opportunity is a big opportunity, and here's how you can take that next step towards maybe even putting yourself out there.
Sure.
Towards getting this training because it just sounds like a crucial need right now in the state.
Right. And it is a job opening and it does pay well. So that's good too.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Trish, so much for talking a little bit more about your story with me and joining us for Careers and Coffee. And thank all of you for listening. And we'll continue this series of working with our reporters and really trying to dive into where's the need in the state as far as workforce development and those jobs that folks may not even know that there's an opportunity for a career.
Thank you.